To our December meeting. It is our reorganization meeting. Roll call shows that all board members are present. Also, we are joined by our student representatives. We have Marissa Duterte. Glad to see you from Marissa from McNair High School. Welcome. And Taylor Willis from the Tokyo Tigers is also here. Thank you, Taylor, for coming. Taylor, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Taylor. Very nice job. Also, I would like to point out that we are assisted, as always, by our executive assistant to the board, and that's Mrs. Michelle Armstrong. Welcome. We have our social media is being ran by Ms. Chelsea Van Geer. Welcome, Chelsea. And our IT tech extraordinaire is Michael. So, way to go. Thank you. Report out from closed session. We have Vice President McFarland motion and Mr. Navas second, and the board approved the appointment of Christina Halsey as elementary principal at Woodbridge Elementary School, effective for a date to be determined by the vote of 7-0. Also, Mr. Nava motion and Vice President McFarland second, and the board approved the appointment of Gina Lopez as elementary principal at Westwood Elementary School, effective a date to be determined by the vote of 7-0. Not Westwood. The school to be determined.
There you go.
Okay. That's exactly, you know what? I misspoke, and that, as I do recall exactly, that was what the motion was, so very good. Also, in conference with legal counsel, Mr. Porter motion and Mr. Neely second, and the board approved the settlement agreement of OAH, case number 2021 090853 and 2021 110762. Someone check me on that? Close enough? Very good. Okay. And last but not least, in the placement of non-public school students, Mr. Nava motion and Mr. Heavily second, and the board approved the placement of 2021 to 2022 non-public school new students numbers 103, 104, 105, 106 by the votes of 7-0. And there was nothing else, no further action taken in closed session. Tonight, we have our further presentation of our Golden Quill Award. We have Tina Hereford and Andrew Hereford, the wife and son of Will Hereford, here to receive his recognition. And we have that recognition where? Do I have it? You do. And if I didn't have it, where would it be? Okay.
Would you like to go to the second one, or do that one gets passed?
I don't know where that one is either. Do we know where the second one is?
The second one. First
The second one is being presented by CSEA.
So we know where the second one is.
Yes, we do.
Tina, Andrew, I'm so sorry about this. Give me just a second.
just getting you to practice.
Right.
Okay, now
Randy.
here we go.
You did amazing.
Randy, are you ready? Can we meet you at the podium?
Randy's still in school.
Good evening.
No. Good evening.
It's Paula Calderon, Second Vice President, and this is Patty Gurecki.
And you have a presentation here tonight,
Yes.
and the presentation of the California School Employees Association, Lodi Chapter 77 Boss of the Year Award. And Randy couldn't be here tonight?
That's correct.
He's in school. He's going to try to make it at the tail end.
Very good. So tell us, who's the Boss of the Year?
She's going to read something first, and then we'll say it. Go ahead.
Well, we had a lot of nominations come in, but it was a lot of job
If you could get to
descriptions.
the microphone, please, Patty, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. We had a lot of nominations come in for Boss of the Year, and it was hard. It was the committee, but a lot of the descriptions were what their job was, and this one was short and sweet and to the point. And the reason I can relate to this is because I worked with the gentleman that got Boss of the Year, Mr. Eric Collins. And his employee wrote, why? Eric is very supportive, always takes his time to listen to any concerns I have about school issues, and is not afraid to dig in and help when I have a full plate. And that is Mr. Collins, true and true, faithful, and a very dedicated employer to us. So we're proud to present you, Eric,
There
for the
you
Boss
go.
of the Year.
And a box of
And
chocolate.
because you're not sweet enough, I have to sweeten you up, Eric. Okay, don't feed it to the mice, that's all I can say.
Well, thank you.
But let's let Eric say some words first.
So, this is truly an honor. Thank you, Patty and Paula and CSEA for nominating me and for, this is I've been doing administration for 10 years, and what I've learned over the last 10 years in my time is, you're only as good as the people you work with. And so I work with some tremendously amazing people at John Muir, and so I'm very fortunate to be with them. So thank you again, and I truly appreciate it.
I'm sure our board has some excellent comments about this. So, Mr. Nava, you've had some people work for you once or twice,
Yes, I
right?
had, and congratulations, Eric. It was a great job. It takes a lot of people to think about the Boss of the Year, and I'm sure that the CSE group took good thinking and good thoughts, and congratulations. You're great for this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Heverly, you have some comments for Boss of the Year?
It is really an honor when the people you work with single you out as the Boss of the Year. I mean, it's really a wonderful thing. You know, what you said about taking care of your people, and obviously it shows. So congratulations, job well done.
Thank you.
Any comments from the board? All right. Why don't we go ahead and take a picture for Chelsea?
We're going to break the camera, Chelsea.
No, but that's not true. It's
Said a
Chelsea.
lot.
Yeah, get to it. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
I'm
Ladies, always a pleasure. Thank you, CSEA, for recognizing our bosses, and thank you for the amazing job that you do, and congratulations, Mr. Collins. Now, Tina, Andrew. Guess what I He was quite a bit short, quite a bit. But I bet he still has a pretty good stroke. So, we created the Golden Quill Awards, and that's to recognize individuals that portrayed Lodi Unified in a positive light, and Will was absolutely one of those individuals. We are all fans of his work, whether it was on KCRA and his investigative reporting. He always had such a pleasant attitude, but what he also did was seeing it in the end zone, on the sidelines, every Friday night, and at so many different games. Just pumping that camera and doing it with a smile on his face and such positive attitude. We're sorry we didn't get to get this and recognize them before, but I got to tell you, it was unanimous, and the board was very, very excited to recognize your husband, your father, for all that he did and his involvement in the community. So tonight, we thank you for coming in and accepting the Golden Quill Award for our work. Congratulations. Got some words?
Thank you, Ron. My dad was always proud to represent the school district that my brother and I and my mother worked for, and we were students, and he always loved the positive initiatives, or filling everyone in on no matter what was going on. And I'm sure many individuals here probably worked with him closely, especially I know Ron, you did, Chelsea, and he loved that, getting the positive word out about voting the fight. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Will would appreciate it. He would have something witty and funny to say, but I can't think of anything.
I think we have some comments on the board. Mr. Connexon?
What a presence. He'll be missed. That's it. I mean, he was a great guy.
And Mr. Porter?
Just through the years, the interaction, all the attention given to the city of Lodi and so forth, was a pleasure. And I know part of his passion. And I love to be around passionate people. And he is somebody that I admire greatly. And you, as his son, ought to be very proud and carry that legacy with you. And of course, to be married to such a wonderful man. So it's a joyous evening for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Thank you so much. That's my favorite part.
He's already embarrassed. We haven't even started.
As Vice President, one of the lucky things I get to do is thank our esteemed President, Mr. Freitas. I have a couple of notes that I had helped with. So. First of all, I want to thank you for your leadership. Everybody sitting out here, the board knows they're difficult years. We've had several difficult years, and we're hoping for some brighter ones, but thank you for leading us through a challenging year. Thank you for your calm and steady running of our meetings. We also appreciate that. Honoring your community and the employees' voices. Throughout the pandemic, your goal to have everyone in person was reached. I appreciate that. I could go on and on about lots of appreciation, but the bottom line is thank you for all that you've done for our district, that you will continue to do, and we can't wait to see what wonderful things come in your future. So on behalf of the school board and the district, I'd like to present you with a wonderful award.
Thank you.
Now, we all know your board members probably have a lot of wonderful things to say.
Oh, I still love it.
Remember, the world is watching.
Two happiest days. Life of a president, the day he takes the gavel and the day he gives it up. I'll tell you, you've had an incredibly tough year. It started out as vice president during an incredibly tough year and ended up as being president in an incredibly tough year. I want to thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart for everything that you've done. You worked a lot of long hours, buddy. I know that. You'd call me at all kinds of times during the day and we'd talk about things. Thank you. You've left it a better place than when you took it over. And that's a big deal. That's all you can ask. So again, thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
I'd like to echo that also. It has been very difficult. And as anybody knows, the landscape of what was required of the district changed not only on a daily basis, but it seemed like an hourly basis. One of the ones I remember very clearly is we met several times trying to figure out what are we going to do with, because the state was vacillating, and we decided, that's it. We're going back 100% in person. The very next morning, it all changed when the governor said no. And you helped us navigate through all of that. And so, you know, that leadership and commitment is appreciated. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Nice name.
Good name. Mr. Freitas, what can I say? You are extremely intelligent, quick on your feet. You can take a meeting and work it into a way where it's very non-confrontational, smooth. You're a steady hand during closed session. You always have the eye of the people and the students in your actions and answers and questions and so forth. And your commitment has been outstanding. As being president, it was a great thing to watch you in action. I got to sit right next to you and see you manage a lot of difficult things in a difficult time. And I don't think anybody ever thought that we'd be in this situation that we're in now, but you took us through some very uncharted waters. I appreciate that. I've learned from it, and I love learning, and I learned a lot from watching you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Courtney.
Well, there's two people standing up there right now with a whole lot of emotions, and Ms. Neely mentioned it. I know one's very happy that he gets to sit down, and then there's another person up there that's very anxious about her new job coming up. And I know both those emotions because I've been there also. But Ms. Freitas, I really appreciate the inclusiveness that you provide both board members and members of the public. Everyone gets a chance to participate, and everyone has a voice, and you have done a great job in making sure everybody was heard. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Gary. And I couldn't have done it without the 8 ball that came to every single meeting.
Ron, thank you very much for your calm and great leadership. My gosh, I've been in a leadership position for many years, and you're a professional at it. You're calm, cool, and you are just awesome taking this job and making me as a board member feel so comfortable here that anything that happens in a board meeting, Ron is taking care of it. I don't have to worry about anything. So again, thanks again for all your leadership and your time. And like I said, like George says, it's a great time. I picked him up this evening, and he says, "I'm so glad today."
That is not true.
Okay.
And with Senator Carson,
I was just being facetious. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Ron.
Mr. Knob is actually just saying those nice things because he broke the in-person instruction and I fixed it. So anyway, we did get that back. All right, like any good roast, I get to go last. So it has been an honor to serve as your board president this past year. Even though we continue to work through challenges associated with the health pandemic, we know as a board, we as a board have remained focused on student and service to the community. This is because of your diligence, dedication, and passion to make Lodi Unified the best learning and working environment possible. I thank my board colleagues for your support and encouragement throughout the year. We have worked together as a team to address the myriad of issues that have come our way. As you know, I have been adamant about providing in-person instruction with health and safety measures in place, as have you, and we did it. Together, we have kept students in classrooms with their teachers, support staff, and friends. We have brought back many of the treasured activities that connect students to school and help them develop positive social skills. We held in-person graduations last year to give our seniors the type of celebration they and their families hoped for and deserved. We could not have done any of this without our employees, and I greatly applaud and appreciate all of their efforts. I know that in-person instruction during a health pandemic and after distance learning has brought new challenges, but all employees have done what is necessary to help students with this transition. The focus on mental wellness and connections to school has been remarkable. The Lodi Unified community is very fortunate to have our employees who care about their work and care about the children we serve, our employees. I also want to acknowledge the work that has been done to move our Measure U projects forward. As the chairman of the Measure U committee, I am extremely pleased with the progress. We see results at Needham, Tokay, and Lodi High, as well as many other sites. We will have over 110 new classrooms opening after the Christmas break, the holiday break. Those classrooms were built ahead of schedule and under budget. Is that right, Mr. Khan? Absolutely. Thank you to our community for supporting this measure, and thank you to all involved in creating this safe and up-to-date facilities, state-of-the-art facilities for our students and staff. In the midst of all the challenges, including new funding sources with new rules, this district continues to be a model district for financial stability. I'm very proud that we again have an outstanding audit report as will be shared later on this evening. To our community, thank you for your involvement in our projects and our decisions this year. I know there have been controversial issues. I appreciate your advocacy for your children and your involvement in their education. I thank you for allowing me to serve in this capacity. I look forward to wonderful things ahead for the Lodi Unified School District, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the women in my life. Mrs. Freitas for sharing me with all of you, my wonderful daughters who are my bedrock, my granddaughters, and I'll throw my grandson in there. Vice President McFarland, who so many great ideas come from, and Dr. Washer, not only the longest tenured school superintendent in the state of California, but without a doubt, simply the best. Thank all of you for helping me do all that we can do for the Lodi family. Once again, it's been an honor and a privilege, and thank you for letting me be your board president. And somewhere here, after all this recognition, I've misplaced the agenda that tells me what I'm supposed to do next. Oh, here it is. Got it. Board reorganization, election of officers. At this time, nomination of president, I would nominate Susan McFarland.
Second.
As president of the Lodi Unified School Board. Mr. Neely is second. Any other nominations? Closed nominations. All in favor of Susan McFarland being the president of the Lodi Unified School Board, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. For the second time in the 169-year history of Lodi Unified, we have a woman president. Congratulations, Ms. McFarland. Nominations for vice president.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. President Pro Tem McFarland, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Heavily, for your second. Any other nominations for vice president? We'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations, Mr. Porter. Nominations for clerk of the board. I nominate George Neely as clerk of the board. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nava, for your second. Any other nominations for clerk of the board? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries 6-1. George Ely is the new clerk of the board. I have no idea what you're talking about. I think you took it from me, but I have no idea. All right, we will take a brief recess so that we can log out and log on into our new position. So, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone, for sitting down. Thank you. Welcome back to our meeting. We're going to jump right into some board organization, the sub-board committees. You ready to go, guys?
We have the adoption of the calendar.
Oh, did I miss it? Did I jump right over it?
Yes.
Calendar of meetings. Okay. I didn't even see it. Board comments. Any changes? No board comments. Everyone is content?
President McFarland,
Yes.
I move that we approve the calendar of meetings
Do we have a second?
for 2022.
So many options. Thank you, Mr. Nova, for the second. Already I'm accused of favoritism? Goodness. We're going to start with, any public comments on this before we jump ahead? No? Student comments? Okay, we're going to jump ahead then. Student vote.
Yes.
And board vote? Did we do a virtual? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Oh. And the motion passes 7-0. Moving on, board organization for subcommittees. Let's start with the board audit review committee. Do our members want to remain on? Mr. Heverly, Mr. Knexted, and myself.
I will.
And I will too. Is there anyone else that is interested? Okay, we will move ahead then. All three will remain the same. City of Lodi 2x2 committee. We can have 2 or 3 appointees. We have currently 3, Mr. Heverly, Mr. Neely, and Mr. Porter.
I'll stay.
Okay. City of Stockton 2x2 committee, Mr. Nava and Mr. Knexted are the 2 appointees. Are you both
President
okay?
McFarland,
Yes.
it's my understanding that the city of Stockton wants to make this a 3x3.
Oh,
So maybe we'll appoint an alternate.
I have no problem with that.
I nominate Mr. Curtis.
Yes. And I would be thrilled to serve with Mr. Knexted and Mr. Nava.
We're good. All right. We will let it stand with Mr. Nava, Mr. Knexted, and Mr. Freitas. San Joaquin County 2x2, 2 appointees. Do you have any other information that we should know about before we move on with this one?
I do not know anything
You're
about
the man
this
with
one,
the information.
but I would be proud to serve.
Okay, and I would also, it's Mr. Freitas and myself. Stockton City, the City of Stockton Parks and Recreation Commission.
I'm getting on that.
You're good. Thank you, Mr. Nava. Mr. Cerna, oh my goodness. Joe Cerna Charter Advisory is Porter and myself. Are you still good, Mr. Porter?
Yes.
And so am I. We are okay on those. Legislative Advocacy Committee, 3 appointees, Mr. Freitas, Mr. Neely, and Mr. Heverly. Are we okay?
I'd like to remain.
You'll stay?
I think I'm going to withdraw from that one.
All right, we have room for one more. Mr. Porter has accepted it. Thank you. San Joaquin County Boards Association, 1 appointee, Mr. Neely. You will stay. Facility Master Plan Committee, 3 appointees, Mr. Freitas, Mr. Heverly, and Mr. Knexted. Are we good?
Yes, I'll stay.
Guys are making it easy on me.
Just got started.
I love it. CSBA Delegate Assembly. There are currently 4 expiring delegates seated in the subregion 8A, San Joaquin County. The board may nominate as many individuals as it chooses. Currently, as a delegate represented from LUSD, Mr. Neely's term expires March 31st of 2023.
There's something on this. It just passed at the last delegate assembly, that we can have 1 nominee per year. Yeah, we can have 1 nominee per year. So even though I'm on there right now, we can have another one, and I would like to nominate Mr. Porter for that position.
Makes sense.
And I-
Second.
Thank you. Board vote on that?
You need a second?
Mr. Frazier, second.
Dr. Washer, do we need a vote? Or
We don't need to vote?
I believe you do need to vote to nominate.
Do a verbal? All right, we'll start at the end. Mr. Nava.
Aye.
Mr. Conexton.
Aye.
Mr. Neely.
All right,
Mr. Porter.
Abstain. Yes. C.
And I'm a yes, that would be 7-6-0-1 abstained. Spotlight. Mr. Neely.
you know, I'm gonna ask that we put that off until our January meeting. We have a very full agenda tonight, so I think we're gonna go over and just do it then.
Okay, do we have, any board members have questions or concerns? Are we okay with that?
Good.
Amber? Good. Okay. Comments from student reps. Good evening. Who wants to go first? Pardon? Marissa's going to go first. Okay.
Alrighty. Thank you, Mrs. President, Dr. Washer, and members of the board. My name is Marissa Duterte, the student representative of Ronald E. McNair High School. Some successes at McNair are our Snowball Spirit Week. Our student government pulled off a Lost in Literature Spirit Week based off books everyone's read just last week. We had our second outdoor rally on our football field with a winter formal last Saturday. We also had a blood drive. McNair CTE and HOSA students teamed up with the American Red Cross. McNair students 16 and older were given the opportunity to donate blood before the holiday season. They were able to donate 74 units of blood in total. For upcoming events, we have Pie a Teacher, a fundraising event by our very own Link Crew. Students have the opportunity to nominate a teacher and pie them. Each pie costs a certain amount and all donations will go to Link Crew program. They're also running another program called Cocoa Cram. To prepare for our finals week, Link Crew is hosting a Cocoa Cram for freshmen. Freshmen will get free hot chocolate and tutoring from upperclassmen. Our drama department is currently having auditions for the next spring production following the Harry Potter Hullabaloo. It'll be You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Our student government is currently debriefing from last week's hectic events and working on student government recruitment. For sports, not too much. We have a wrestling team who has lots of individual wins. Our captains are currently 4-1. We also do have girls basketball, boys soccer, girls soccer, and boys basketball with a record of 4-5 so far. Thank you, and that is what is happening at McNair so far.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the board? All right, we're ready.
Thank you, Ms. President, members of the board, Dr. Washer. My name is Taylor Willis, and I am the student representative of Tokay High School. Our new two-story building has opened up, and teachers are settling in. Our new gym is also open, and it's being used, and it is beautiful. Various clubs on campus held food drives for Thanksgiving and got tons of donations. Our Whale Warriors Club hosted a sock and beanie drive and got many donations for that as well. The Lodi Parade of Lights had a huge turnout, and our band, FFA, and our cheer squad all participated. Our counselors are in the midst of sophomore counseling, which provides our sophomores with information on the A through G requirements, and they're also preparing to schedule classes for the 2022-2023 school year. Student government just wrapped up our Adopt a Child event. For those who don't know, Adopt a Child is a nonprofit organization that fulfills underprivileged children's holiday wants and needs. We received 18 angel cards, which provide clothing sizes and that specific child's toy wish. Our clubs were able to get in all of the donations so children can have a very Merry Christmas. Mr. Lohr and Officer Stillman have been making their way through various classrooms with a presentation focusing on the consequences of vaping, whether it be nicotine, THC, or marijuana. Tokay High has a Chipotle fundraiser tomorrow evening. A well-known senior at Lodi High School has a 5-year-old brother who has just been diagnosed with cancer. So all of the proceeds are going to that family. Student government is also hosting a holiday party this Thursday. This event is going to be held in our cafeteria and is free admission. Students will be decorating cookies, enjoying some hot chocolate, watching a holiday movie, and finishing the late afternoon with a gingerbread decorating contest. And as far as sports go, our winter sports are off and running. I also want to mention that our football team has been honored with all league awards. Honorable mention went to Fernando Lopez, Alessandro Garcia, Andrew Melgoza, Brandon Moreno, and Richard Mendonca. Our all-league second team awards went to Barrett Crosby, Isaac Delgado, Silva Ramirez, and Cody Kranich. Our all-league first team awards go to Elias Castro and Xavier Moreno, with punter of the year going to Andrew Passmore. And lastly, our girls volleyball team was also awarded. Honorable mention went to Miss Paris Vang. All-league second team went to Jackie Patino and Paige Delph. And all-league first team went to Taylor Willis, who is me, if you guys know that.
Thank you very much, Taylor, for that report. Any comments? Mr. Nava, nothing? We're good, okay.
Very, very thorough explanation, thank you.
Thank you both very much. Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. First of all, congratulations to the new officers, Mr. Neely, Mr. Porter, and of course, Susan McFarland as our new president. We look forward to this year with you. On behalf of staff, I want to thank outgoing president and now past president, Mr. Ron Freitas, for all that you have done for the district and this community, not only this last year, but throughout your tenure as a board member. It has been very, very clear through this challenging time that you are focused clearly on students. And it's been students first the whole entire time. I want to thank you for that. Thank you for your grounded leadership, your calm leadership, and your supportive leadership. You are always good about recognizing others, including staff who have worked so hard throughout this challenging time, and we thank you for that. You have been gracious in your comments and your ability to facilitate meetings even under very difficult circumstances with challenging issues to navigate. So we thank you so much for your steadfast leadership. We've understand clearly that it was very difficult and challenging for you, but we greatly appreciate all that you have done for us and for the students in this district. So thank you so much, Mr. Freitas. I want to remind board members that we continue to work on the new law that's coming into effect next year on changing the school start times for high school and middle school. We will bring you details in a report item at the January board meeting. Basically, as you recall, high schools will not be able to start before 8:30. Middle school start time not before 8. This will impact some of our elementary schools because of transportation needs. So there will be some adjustments, some tweaks here and there. We're working hard to make sure that it isn't too drastic of a change. I want to thank our transportation department. Annette has been doing a fantastic job. I want to thank Scott McGregor and Neil Young, also Leonard Kahn, for working on this. And we will share more details with you in January. Also want to thank our board members who attended our film premiere. Mrs. McFarland, Mr. Freitas, Mr. Knackstad. It was an exciting event for our students who participated in the film camp over the October break with Joey Travolta. We have heard so many wonderful things about this program, so thank you so much to board for supporting this. I don't know if this was our third or fourth time with this, but we're hoping to do it again in March. We're hoping to open it up to more general education students. As you know, the focus has been on our special needs population. It was just a first-class Hollywood-style premiere, so thank you so much for supporting that effort. It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Washer. At this time, we come to comments from the public. I have quite a list of green slips, and so before I read the statement explaining what we're doing, we've got several that say mandates. So if your green slip says mandates, I don't know if you're referring to the vaccine mandate, but that is a report item, which will be, I'm going to ask to have moved up here shortly from my board members. So if you have put mandates on and your name is called, you cannot come to the podium and talk about the vaccine mandates. So just so we're not trying to slide you. We want you to give you your due time to speak. I just want to be aware that there's quite a few people that put mandates. And so I will, if you'd like to come up and or stand, let's maybe do it that way. Why doesn't everybody who put mandates, if you would like to stand up and tell me whether or not it's vaccines or you would like to talk about masks. Is that making any sense to anyone? You're all, thank you. If you could say your name.
Jim Hicks.
Jim Hicks. And it is masks, okay.
Well, it's actually both.
So I'll let you talk about masks and then we can come back up again. Fantastic. Yes.
Shelley Villafana, and it's for the vaccine.
For vaccines. Okay, so I will not call you up during this 20-minute period. It will be the next. Correct. Anybody else?
Oh, sorry. Reese Mahoney.
Hi, Reese. It is for masks.
Yes.
Okay. Got quite a stack here. Thank you.
Todd Rockmar, and it's kind of both, but refrain from the vaccine.
Do you want to do the first 20-minute component? Or
Yes.
Okay. And I'm looking for, is that who that was? I'm sorry, sir. That is, okay. So he's going to do masks. So, masks. I'm looking for vaccine. Is there, Alex, are you in the audience?
Yeah.
Hi. You have public comment, so can you clarify that? It's not vaccine or mask? I just want to make sure that we put you in the right place.
It's not, it's just a public comment.
It's neither one.
Yeah, it's just.
Perfect.
It's not regarding the mandate, it's just reinforcing.
Perfect. Thank you.
what's going on.
And then Emily Mahoney, you have mandates. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, mine is for the masks.
For the masks, okay. And Shelley?
Yeah, mine would be for the masks.
Masks. We'll put him first. And then I have another Shelley Mahoney.
That's her. That was me.
Did you get it? I didn't even see. Oh, I have the wrong one. Okay. We'll leave her over here and we'll see what happens. Okay. And that's a vaccine. Okay. And then I have, okay, everything. Pete, do we have a Pete in the audience? Everything COVID.
A whole lot of things.
Yeah, I have no doubts. Would you want to speak under the 20-minute comment, or would you rather wait for the vaccines?
Oh, I got some for the mask too.
He's going to do both. Okay. So for public comments, the light will stay on. Let me go back. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. The board cannot engage in dialogue about public comments because of restrictions placed by the California Brown Act. We'll go through the color code again. The light will stay green for 1 to 2 minutes. At the 2 minute, it will start flashing green. At 2.5 minutes, it will turn orange. At 3 minutes, it will beep, turn red, and your time is up. Sounds like a board game. Once again, solid green for 1 to 2 minutes, flashing green for 1 minute, orange for 30 seconds, red and beeping, your time is up. We have We have 8. So we're going to get as close to 20 minutes as possible. We're hoping everyone respects their 3 minutes. So let's start with Pete. And Pete, can you give me your last name?
Valdez.
Pardon?
Valdez.
And I'd like Shelley Villafana to come up, so you're next up.
Okay, so my thing is the math. And the last time I was here, you guys talked about how you guys were teaching our children how to critically think. And yet, I haven't seen any of you guys critically do any critical thinking yourselves. You've been counting on liars to do your thinking for you. And you have access to all these educators, these bright minds. And I was just wondering why you haven't tried to see what's true and what's false. You know, there's a lot of us out here that believe that the COVID, and well, we're talking about the mask, so that the mask don't do anybody any good. It doesn't protect you and it doesn't protect me. We now know, we're talking about the mask, so, you know, it really irritates me because I know that our children need to, you know, the Creator who created all things, created us in a way where we're supposed to breathe in oxygen and expel carbon dioxide, whatever you call it. So these people with the mask on, they're harming their immune system. Our Creator created us marvelously complex. Okay? And so when you guys patting yourselves on the back for all the accomplishments that you guys have done during this pandemic, this scandemic, there's enough information here for you guys to know what is true and what is false. And for you guys being educators, I think you're in the wrong job. I'm sorry. Forgive me for my boldness. And I truly believe that you guys are in the wrong field. You guys run around here giving each other pats on the back, undeserving, in my humble opinion.
You had asked me earlier to wait because my comment is related.
Your vaccine?
Yeah.
I apologize. Shelley Mahoney. And Emily, you're up next. This is Shelley.
Hi. I'm not here to badmouth anybody. I just wanted to talk about the inconsistencies of the mask and the social emotional needs of the students and what I see as a teacher. I was a teacher, a substitute teacher for Lodi Unified for 12 years, and now I'm in the Stockton Unified District and I teach high school. The inconsistencies with, first of all, different the educators, the students that don't wear the masks, the things that are not being actually mandated in the different schools, but also mainly how the students are hiding behind these masks. And we're all about the social emotional needs of our students. We get trained on social emotional needs of our students. And not only, like I agree with this gentleman that spoke about the fact that it's not good for our immune system. These masks are not effective because you have to have a certain kind of mask for it to be effective. The inconsistencies of what I see in front of me right now, around me right now, it's okay here, but in the classroom it's not. Just the inconsistencies. And I don't know what kind of power you all have. I have grandchildren that are in the Lodi Unified School District. That's why I'm speaking. My married-in daughter, Emily, is potentially going to lose her job because she's one person that got caught. But there's so many people that aren't wearing masks or wearing them ineffectively. But mainly, my whole point is, why are we continuing to make this such an important thing for our students and staff members when really, why are you guys all not wearing masks if you're requiring my daughter Emily to wear a mask and potentially lose her job? That's it. I'm done. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Emily's up, and then Alex, you're next.
For those who don't know, my name is Emily Mahoney. As of right now, I am still employed with Lodi Unified as a paraeducator for the severely handicapped preschoolers. I have already announced publicly that I will no longer be wearing a mask on school campuses. I have been reprimanded, pulled aside, sent to the principal's office, and attended a private meeting with the Director of Personnel, Amber Jager, and attended a Skelly hearing with the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel, Mike McKilligan. My sister-in-law represented me at both private meetings. I was put on unpaid leave on November 15th, which was the date of my Skelly hearing with Mr. McKilligan. I have since then been waiting for a hearing date which will determine whether or not I am terminated. I was very clear in asking for a public in-person hearing, which, by the way, I was told that I was entitled to, and I was not given that. I received an email today from the Office of Administrative Hearings, or the OAH, which states that my hearing will be held by telephone or video conference, and it will be remote. Their reasoning for it being virtual and remote is because of a public health crisis. Both times that I came to the district office for my meeting and Skelly hearing, your receptionist Cindy Potts harassed my sister Kaylee and I about not wearing a mask, as we watched at least 15 people walking around in this building not wearing a mask. We were told that they were exempt. So I would like that form right now. If that exists, if that's true, we could just skip all of that. We could just skip the hearing and I just won't be terminated because I'll be exempt, right? So much nonsense. So my question is, why won't you stand up for the people that you guys have employed? I am not wearing a mask because of my religious beliefs, and yet you have people like Amber Jager who are straight up telling me I am not following the law. I am being completely discriminated against, and nobody is doing anything about it. There are other staff and people who aren't wearing masks and aren't being reprimanded. It's really a shame that Kelly, my principal, left. She was here earlier because she is the one who started all of this. I saw her with my own two eyes not wearing a mask right next to a student, and then she saw me and quickly pulled it up. She's the one who started this. Yet because you can't visibly see my mask, I'm being reprimanded. If I am terminated, you will be losing a very devoted and passionate educator. I absolutely love the children that I have taught at Lawrence as if they are my own children. I would jump in front of a bus for any one of them. And I really cannot believe that I am facing recommendation for termination because I'm making a personal medical decision.
My name is Alex Olferis. I'm a substitute teacher at Lodi Unified. And for all of you, I'll make a plug. Join Lodi Toastmasters. You want to learn how to public speak, you don't need to spend a lot of money, and you'll practice speaking. The Doctrine of Lesser Magistrates declares that when the superior or higher civil authority makes unjust and immoral laws or decrees, the lesser or lower ranking civil authority like you guys have both a right and a duty to refuse obedience to that superior authority. It's not something made up. Actually, it dates back to the Roman Empire, where a governor in Israel, today's Israel, refused the orders of the emperor from the Roman Empire to put a statue inside a synagogue. And all these citizens from Israel said, this is against the temple, this is against our religion. And the governor at that time says, okay, I'm standing up against the emperor. I'm not doing what the edict was. So there's history routed in this. Just read, do your research. And the hypocrisy of the masks.
Yes.
Like the lady that made the comment before me, I've gone to different schools and I've seen office staff not wearing masks. Students not wearing masks. And the damage that these masks are doing to these students, I could tell a lot of these kids have psychological damage from these masks. I urge you to go to these classrooms and see these kids. They're not talking. Okay, these kids should be talking. Half of these kids are not talking. And it's hard to do my job with a mask on. I don't put a mask on. I don't. You can't talk. You can't teach with a damn mask on.
Come on.
I'm sorry. You can't. This is pure idiotic. What is going on, folks? I have seen principals not wearing masks. I've seen administrators not wearing masks. And when a student comes in, whoop, mask up. What is that? We need to stop that. And then the emperor with no clothes has a mandate to put a mask on tomorrow? Is this a dirty joke? Is this a dirty joke that we're playing? We're almost 2 years at this insanity.
Exactly.
We are almost 2 years in this insanity, and I can tell you what's going on in Australia with my friends. With people that have no freedom of choice. They're going after them. In Greece, they're saying the same thing to me. This is pure insanity, folks, and it has to stop.
It has to stop. Are you guys listening?
So if I make my public comment here, do I still get to comment on the other one, or?
Absolutely.
Well, it's kind of a mix. It's already a pre-read thing, but I'll try to stay on track here.
Okay, Reese, you will be up next then.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm pleased to see that the board has drawn up a resolution to the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. I see that you're attempting to block this, but in turn, if denied by legislature, are you going to honor their tyrannical wants or fulfill the people's needs? This is our children we are talking about. That's where I draw the line in the sand. My son's religious exemption.
But that's on the resolution.
I know.
So
I'm getting there.
It's
going to switch. Hold on. You're taking.
Burning this time, man.
Well, Ty, I'm gonna stop you and ask you, I want to hear what you have to say. Can we do the whole speech maybe during the resolution? Because I think it's leaning more towards that, and I don't want you to wait. I don't want us to interrupt your time, so I want to be able to give you your 3 minutes.
So I'll be able to speak freely then?
Absolutely, if it has, on that topic, yes. Thank you. Reese?
Hi, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Glad that we can all say that here. Just a quick story from the Bible. We hear about how there were shepherds in the field and how angels visited them, telling them to go see our Savior Jesus Christ. Nobody's said, put on a mask before you see this child. Nobody said, do you have a vaccine card? They said, go see the child of God, go see your Savior. And now we're here. We're forcing our kids to wear masks. You're forcing my wife to wear a mask. If she doesn't wear a mask, no, you can not wear a mask, but if you don't wear a mask, you're going to get fired. My wife loves these children. You could see before. She loves these children as if they were her own. She comes home and she cries in my bed, and I have to console her because she cannot do her job correctly, okay? This is not right. This is ridiculous. And then the hypocrisy that we see, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
We have board members who will take off a mask when they're not at their podium, but then they'll put it on afterwards. And I'm not talking to strangers here. You know me. I know you, okay? I've known Mr. Porter for 20 years now. You've known me and my family. I've gone to Mr. Hepperly's famous Christmas parties every year. Okay? I'm not talking to strangers. Fight for the people who need this justice, okay?
Hello, my name is Jim Hicks.
Welcome.
Good evening, President McFarland, Dr. Washer, and board. I have sent you several emails. I appreciate you getting back to me on that. My original email was a request that we have a board vote on mask and vaccine mandates. And the reason why I request that, because I've been coming to these board meetings, I don't always speak, but I hear these parents. I hear these teachers, and I'm appalled that you can sit here and not have feelings for them. During the meetings and during recesses, a couple of you have come down and you say, oh, we feel for you. And I remember back in a meeting, it was probably July, August, I can't remember which one it was, when the CDPH put forth the mask mandate. And when we were sitting here, at least I thought you guys were saying, well, we're gonna do it, but we're really not gonna enforce it. That's kind of what I remember. Now, if I'm remembering wrong, forgive me. But that's what I thought you guys said. And then what happened? Then we saw children being expelled. We saw teachers being threatened, including my daughter, who, like the other lady who spoke, works with special needs. And they do have a special bond with these students. She's afraid to not wear a mask, but yet it causes problems for her and for her children. But we got to do something about this, guys. And the reason why I want to vote is because we're going to have elections someday. And it's not fair for you guys to hide.
Yes, sir.
I hear when these people talk, some of you guys nod your head, some of you smirk.
Yeah.
But we want to know where you stand.
Indeed.
And we want to know tonight if you guys could vote who is for mask mandates, who is for vaccine mandates. You need to let us know.
Yes, sir.
But then let us decide what we do with that information.
Yes.
But it's not fair to keep us in the dark. And just to update you, there was a study that came out. It's 61 pages long. I just saw it today, so I haven't read it all. But it was done by the Cato Institute, several renowned people, University of Colorado, UC San Francisco, Harvard Medical in Boston. And we hear about these things about federal health authorities in a slew of jurisdictions that require or recommend wearing masks. We hear it all the time. Well, these people studied that. What they say is researchers, they said that cloth masks are of little use against COVID-19. It's a 61-page report. I'm going to email it to you. I don't expect you to read it, but it's information that will help you. There was a case in San Diego. Basically, they said Gavin Newsom is okay because of his emergency authority, but he also said the school board has the authority how they police it.
Yes.
Don't let the state make you guys be the scapegoats.
Yes.
Police it how you do it.
We're moving on to consent agenda A, but before we do that, I would ask the board if they have any problems with moving up the report. I just lost it.
No problem, let's do it.
The board discussing the governor's, for Dr. Washer, discussing COVID-19 vaccinations. Does anybody have a problem moving that up?
Sounds like a great idea.
Doesn't it? All right. Dr. Washer?
Thank you, Ms. President, members of the board. This report item is on here for your consideration. This is a draft resolution. I want to emphasize the word draft for you to review. If this is something you're interested in, or if there's something else you're interested in, a revision of some sort, we would then bring it back to you in January for any action that would be required. The resolution that is on the attachment as a draft says that the board will ask state officials to make the COVID-19 vaccination a recommendation for students and staff, not a mandate. It also does state that the board acknowledges the legal implications and will follow any mandate. So that's there for you to discuss and to hear public comment. And if you have any questions, Mr. Gant is also here as a resource for you if you have any legal type questions.
Thank you, Dr. Washer. So I will open it up to board comments. Who would like to start?
I'll go ahead and start. After reading the resolution, I think it's pretty well written. There are a lot of areas that I think are important to point out. And one of them is that the board realizes the concerns parents have, and we're passing those on to the state. And I think that that's an important thing. It's really difficult when you have your personal opinion about mandates versus putting the district in any kind of jeopardy. And so I'll just leave it at that, but I think I'm in favor of it and I'd like to go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Haverly. Any other comments?
I'll be supporting this resolution. One of the things that we'll do is give our legislative committee tools to take with them when they go speak to the different legislators. So let everybody know the opinion. I do believe in vaccines. I've been vaccinated twice and a booster. However, I don't believe that it should be a mandate. So this will give us a tool to work with that. That's all.
Thank you.
President McFarland?
Yes.
I too am in support of the resolution, and I look forward to voting on it in January.
Thank you.
I will most likely vote in favor of this, only because I think it's a reasonable compromise that may help in some of the turmoil, or maybe not. It's a good compromise, I think, at this point.
Mr. Porter?
Yeah, I've vacillated on this greatly. When I was elected to the school board, I had there were three things I was supposed to do. Safety of the students and our employees, and of course the education of our students, and the support of our staff to achieve that education, to be the best we could be for those kids. And last, we have a fiduciary responsibility. That was what I thought I was supposed to be doing. Nowhere was I to decide health issues. That comes from your county health and your county legislators and your state and federal government. I think this resolution is nice, good, but not really what we're supposed to be doing. You, me, as individuals, vote for your legislation. They decide. If we get a mandate from the county, we'll follow it because we have a fiduciary responsibility. We could get sued and lose our entire budget. The insurance companies will not cover us. Even though the virus is organic, it can cause injury, and the insurance companies will say, if you didn't follow these mandates, you will be sued. And I have a fiduciary responsibility. I'm not asking about money from the state or anything like that, following guidelines. I'm just telling you the facts. You will get sued if you don't follow the mandates. It's as simple as that. And I have a job to follow that. So I am not in favor of this resolution. I think it's watered down to really nothing. If you have concern, get together, see your city council, your county supervisors. I believe we have one that's potentially running or is the city councilman here tonight. Talk to them. They're the ones that are in charge of the county health. If you have opinions, see them. What we can do is talk about education. We want to talk about funding for special ed. We want to talk about RBET. We want to talk about what we're going to do on so many different things that we need to do at this level. Learning differences. Learning gap that we have between when we were in pandemic and now that we're out. Those are the things that this board should be looking at. We follow the mandate. We are the Lodi Unified trustees of Lodi Unified School District, not health. So that's where I stand. I think this resolution is nice. It's a waste of our resources. If you as individuals want to get together and petition your legislatures, do so. Activism is a right in this government, this country. That's what we stand for. That's what my father got shot for in World War II. But our school board, this is not what we're about. The county can take care of these things. The state. That's where you need to be providing your energy. I admire your activism. I support your activism. Your school board is handicapped on what they can and cannot do.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Mr. McFarland, I am in favor of this resolution. I want to tell you something. I do not agree with mandates. It's a choice. Anytime that somebody tells you you have to do this, it just turns me completely away. I do not believe on mandates, but I have a choice. And I've made that choice. And you have a choice also. But again, like I said, I'm not the mandate guy, and the vaccine mandates, the mask mandates, all those, I am anti. But I have to abide by the resolution until you get a new governor, or then you get some people that will support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nava. I'm the last person, and I would like to say that I also will support this resolution. I do agree with what you said, Mr. Porter. And when we all decided to run for school board, and I know many people think they can do a better job than us, you have to separate your personal life. Whether you believe in a mask, you believe in a vaccine, you believe in how you want to raise your family. And I can tell you, Sue McFarland, as board president now, looks differently on a lot of the ways I have to look middle ground on things. I would be doing probably similar things, fighting for my children, fighting for what I wanted. I still am fighting. I think all of our board members would say the same thing. The difference is we stood up, we took an oath, and Mr. Porter said it very eloquently. We have a fiduciary responsibility. We want to keep our children safe and educated. We want to keep our employees safe and educated. And not one of us seven think differently on that. Some of the power is taken out of our hands. If we were to go against it, we create more obstacles for you parents, our district, educating our students and our community. However, this resolution will give us a piece of paper to move forward with, and it will help us in some of the things we're trying to do. So because of that, I'm going to vote yes for it. We would like to, at this time, ask for student comments. Do you have any comments? You're good. Wise. Yes.
I'm not sure if I made it clear or not. I am in favor of this resolution because it does, like I said, give us some ammunition to meet with our legislature. We do have a legislative advocacy subcommittee, and we have been meeting with them. I'm absolutely against mandates, both mask and vaccine. So what this does is it does help us to try to convince them to change their mind and to make them recommendations instead of mandates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heberly. So now I'm going to ask for public comment. So if you have a green slip filled out, I'm not going to call you by name. If you'd like to come line up maybe on this side of the wall, and we'll just take you one at a time. And again, the 20 minutes holds tight. Your 3 minutes, the lighting system will still be in place. So if you could state your name. And me personally as a board president, I like to know your affiliation with the district or your reason for coming, because I think that's very important to us to quantify your answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. My name is Steve Colangelo. I'm a local small business owner and conservative, and I'm a candidate for the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors in District Number 4. And I've lived in San Joaquin County for decades. I chose to get the COVID-19 shot several months ago. I typically choose to get the flu shot each year. That's my choice. Well, occasionally my wife has some input, but it's ultimately my decision about my own health care and medical decisions. Now the state and federal government are on the verge of taking those choices and decisions away from me, my wife, and my family, and mandate that people, business owners, workers, and even school children receive a shot, and completely taking our health care choices away. These mandates are unacceptable, and I encourage the Lodi Unified Board of Education to take a strong stand against them and support parents' rights. In October, Governor Gavin Newsom announced a mandate that will force children aged 12 and older, and eventually beginning at 5-year-olds, to receive the COVID-19 shot, even if their parents or pediatrician don't want them to get it. Immediately following that announcement, Sacramento politicians began drafting legislation that will strip away any medical or religious exemptions, eliminating options and stepping on religious and medical liberties. Their message is clear: comply with our mandate, or we will kick kids out of the classroom and begin firing workers. No, we will not comply. It's time to tell Sacramento politicians to back off our personal medical and healthcare decisions. Let the people make a choice. Informed consultation with their families, the doctors, and even the clergy. Thank you to the Board of Members who oppose these mandates. I urge you to send a clear message today: no to the mandates. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is,
You can, yeah,
oh,
there you go.
my name is Shelley Villafana, and I am going to read a prepared statement by Dr. and scientist Robert Malone. Very quickly. Before you inject your child is the title. My name is Robert Malone, and I'm speaking to you as a parent, grandparent, physician, and scientist. I stand by this statement with a career dedicated to vaccine research and development. I am vaccinated for COVID, and I am generally pro-vaccination. I have devoted my entire career to developing safe and effective ways to prevent and treat infectious diseases. Before you inject your child, a decision that is irreversible, I wanted to let you know the scientific facts that have this genetic vaccine, which is based on the mRNA vaccine technology that I created. These are the 3 issues parents need to understand. 1, the first is that a viral gene will be injected into your child's cells. This gene forces your child's body to make toxic spike proteins. These proteins often cause permanent damage to your children's critical organs, including their brain and nervous system, their heart and blood vessels, including blood clots, their reproductive system, and this vaccine can trigger fundamental changes to their immune system. The most alarming point about this is that once these damages have occurred, they are irreparable. The most alarming point, I already read that. You can't fix the lesions within their brain. You can't repair heart tissue scarring. You can't repair a genetically reset immune system. This vaccine can cause reproductive damage that could affect future generations of your family. The second thing you need to know about is the fact that this novel technology has not been adequately tested. We need to test 5 years, the research, before we can really understand the risks, harms, and and the harms. Ask yourself if you want your child to be part of the most radical medical experiment in human history. One final point. The reason they're giving you to vaccinate your child is a lie. Your child represents no danger to their parents or grandparents. It's actually the opposite. Their immunity after getting COVID is critical to save your family, if not the world, from the disease. In summary, there is no benefit for your children or your family to be vaccinating your children against the small risks of the virus. Given the known health risks of the vaccine, that as a parent, you and your children may have to live with for the rest of your lives. The risk-benefit analysis isn't even close. As a parent and grandparent, my recommendation to you is to resist and fight to protect your children. This is from a very world-renowned doctor and scientist. I'm saying this now. I respect Dr. Wasser's resolution to not require students and staff to be mandated to get this experimental vaccine, but I ask you, board, that you will take the resolution to the next level and choose to refuse this state's unlawful mandate. And I just want to remind you all, very recently, our esteemed governor,
You're okay. Go ahead and finish
our
your
esteemed
statement.
governor said we cannot go to church and we cannot sing in church until a church bucked the system, took it to the Supreme Court, and guess what happened? We all have the right to go to church again. Thank you very much.
Let me tell you, it's all yours now.
All right.
Thank you.
So like I said, it's intermixed with a
You're
little bit
good.
of both.
You-
Okay.
go for it.
So, good evening. I'm pleased to see that the board has drawn up a resolution of the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. I see that you're attempting to block this, but in turn, if denied by legislature, are you going to honor their tyrannical wants or fulfill the people's needs? This is our children we were talking about. That's where I draw the line in the sand. My son's religious exemption was submitted 10/22/21. I'm asking the board, irregardless of what happens with the legislature, to uphold your constitutional oath. It is my understanding that each and every one of you have taken that oath, being that you are elected officials by the people and for the people. This is a step in the right direction. Another issue that I want to address is the mask mandate. Does anyone in this room remember we could curb COVID in 14 days? Here we are 2 years later. Masks don't work, because if they did, why are we still having this problem? And the governor that goes MIA after his booster wants to bring masks back. I will not comply. This is abuse of power. It is clear, yet we have a vaccine that's supposed to be 100% safe and effective, but yet people that are vaxxed are still getting it. So with all these failing moves, why do something that doesn't work? You have to wear a mask, vaxxed or not vaxxed. That basically says it doesn't work. Masks are not meant to be worn all day. It is bad for your health. There has been studies that the bacteria that you breathe is toxic, and to breathe it in all day can and will eventually make you sick. Make it a choice. I'm sure the kids will feel normalized in a world that they do not understand. Let them breathe. Let's bring normal back into our children's lives. Counting on hearing y'all's responses tonight and following through with what y'all wrote up and what were masks used for before COVID, robberies. These mandates are robbing us of our freedoms. Let that be clear. Let's go, Brandon. Have a good night.
I want to quote Abraham Lincoln. He said that we the people are the rightful masters of Congress and the courts. To me, that is a lot of power that we, the people, have. And it's time. Our government is lawless. Our federal government is lawless. Our state government is lawless. And our local government is lawless. The governments of the world are lawless. Our corporations, our medical professions, corporations are lawless. It's all about the big bucks. And I'm sorry, but I just have to ask it. I know you're not going to answer it. But how many of you are in their pockets? This lady over here is supposed to be a professional, a doctor. She should know. Instead of with that mask on, she knows that it's not helping us or her or anybody else in this room. I, for one, am angry and I'm tired. I'm tired of all this nonsense. You guys are supposed to be leaders, public servants. The key word being servant to all we the people. Not just the people with the money or the influence. And this is what I see coming out of all our elected officials. We have the right to abolish a tyrannical government. Because after all, we the people pay your salaries. You pretend to hear us. But that's all it is, pretend. You give us a chance to ask you questions, but you give us no answers. I am tired of it. You guys all, I'm going to leave that.
Thank
Good evening again.
Good evening. Could you state your name again?
Yes. My name is Jim Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
And now you guys can respond back, right? During public? Must not be able to.
No, of course not. This is not, let me clarify one thing. This is not an open forum. This is time for comments. If it was, as it relates to the topic at hand, otherwise we would do a town hall or something like that. This is.
We need one.
Yes, please.
Well, I just want to address Mr. Porter. He mentioned he took his oath. I assume you meant an oath to the Constitution. And I don't know if you know about the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, about our rights and our freedoms, but that's really being breached here. And I'd encourage you to read that a little more thoroughly. The other thing is, I read your resolution, and also, although I want to commend you for putting forth one, I want to make some suggestions. Before I do that, though, another comment that was made was that we got to go let the proper authorities do what they're supposed to do. Before I even go there, I want to go back to the comment about the insurance companies won't pay if we get sued. Are they going to pay if you get sued because a child dies because they wore a mask? Or are they going to pay if you get sued because of an unlawful termination because of a good teacher? Are they going to pay that? Probably not. So why don't you err on the right of the people and be in the right place for this? As far as the other authorities, you mentioned the Board of Supervisors. I remind you, and I sent this to you, the Board of Supervisors did a resolution. Prohibit the use of vaccine passports by any county office, board, or agent. I think you're a county board. Further, the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors strongly discourages the use of vaccine passports by any other agency or business within the county. I think you're within the county. So there's already been precedent for you to hang your hat on, so don't hide behind it and say there's nothing we can do. You can do it. The last thing I want to talk about is your resolution. Thank you for putting it forth, but it does nothing. I think one of you mentioned that. It absolutely does nothing, because you state in here, we understand that we have to comply with a mandate. Well, what does it do to give it? Because we know we're going to get mandates. So why are you putting this forth? I am a member of the California Republican Assembly. I have another resolution from us to you, saying to strengthen your resolution by saying the Board of Education of the Lodi Unified School District will not comply with state and local laws and directives from the CDPH regarding the COVID-19 vaccine requirements for students and staff, as such laws and directives would be unjust, immoral, and unconstitutional.
Yes, we
Welcome. Good evening, Dr. Washer, President McFarland Board. I'm Jill Kiefer. I'm a teacher for Lodi Unified. And I actually came upon some information. I brought you all a copy. Thank you. Because I'm actually concerned for the district, and I love my school district. I'm concerned about us being sued in the future. And this is information from people who are with OSHA. And OSHA's kind of been out of the picture, but they actually are very powerful because they do not follow the executive branch, it's the judicial branch. And on November 12th, an appeals court affirmed the stay on the Biden administration's push for this mandate. It says, therefore, no employer in the United States is legally able to cite OSHA's recent ETS, which is their emergency temporary standard, as justification for forced vaccination, testing, or mandating face coverings in the workplace. Neither is any individual state OSHA agency. This stay applies nationwide, not just to the states covered by the Fifth Circuit Court. Legally, no individual state may create a standard where no federal standard exists. So no state within the United States may legally create a COVID-19 standard with any mandates regarding vaccines, facial covering, social distancing, etc. until there is an approved emergency ETS, emergency temporary standard. There is no standard. Where there is no standard, there can be no enforcement. Now this is 13 pages long, so obviously I am not going to read it all to you, but I would like you to read it because it talks about our liability. We have liability by enforcing these things, and we can be sued, and I do not want to see this. And it says a major area of misunderstanding is the area of liability. We hear all the time that OSHA won't punish an employer if an employee is injured due to the vaccine. This is not at all true. Employers, you need to understand your risk of liability for requiring employees to utilize any medical device. Masks are considered medical devices without proper oversight and training, or to take any experimental vaccine that is still under emergency use authorization. And what really made me nervous was when I looked up the explanation of the board member's liability, and that you can generally be held personally liable for breach of fiduciary duties, particularly in case involving egregious neglect of board members' oversight of responsibilities. Definition of fiduciary duties: someone to whom property or power is entrusted for the benefit of another. So my concern is for our district to keep it strong, and please read these. I brought them for you to read. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Hello, this is Ashley Herzik. I'm a speech and language pathologist in the district. I did see the resolution and I appreciate it being brought forward. I too feel that it is weak and watered down. Someone said it was watered down on the board. It is literally copied from Briggs Elementary. While I'm happy to hear it is just a draft, I would like it to read as more similar to Apple Valley's resolution, in which it was stated that Apple Valley Unified School District believes that parental choice in vaccination and other health decisions is important, and be it further resolved that the Apple Valley Unified School District will not implement a vaccine requirement if one is imposed by state or local health officers. Something similar to that would have been, something I would have expected. I do believe it should be choice, parent choice, personal choice. I think either way, you are going to face litigation. Personally, that's how I feel. I feel it's unconstitutional to put these demands on individuals and our children. It is a waste of resources to put out such a weak resolution. What's the point? It's just really to make people think that, you guys are putting something out there, but it will do nothing. It really will. It's a polite request. It literally says a polite request. We don't want polite requests. We want change. And the Board of Supervisors will not create the change we need to see. It won't. I went to the Board of Supervisors meeting in October. Chairman Patty at that time said that it is actually district choice. Each district has the choice to enforce masks, all this stuff. So you guys are passing the buck. Why can't we get our story straight? It doesn't make sense. We will never be fully vaccinated. There's always going to be people who are unvaccinated. It just needs to be down to choice. The state's going to continue to move our compliance standards more and more. It's never going to stop. We have to stop it now, or you're going to lose many employees, many students. We know this. I just want to see a choice. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome, board. Hi, my name is Janessa Weller, and I'm a paraeducator with special needs children at Baker Elementary School. And thank you for having me here to speak. I'm speaking mainly on the vaccine mandate, but I just want to let you know for the record, I'm against also the unlawful mask mandates and unlawful testing, which you are only having unvaccinated people do, even though vaccinated people could also carry and spread COVID. So there's that. And then I noticed one of you mentioned in your little spiel that you are worried about the safety of the children if you have a lawsuit. Well, what about the safety of the children if they have a severe death or a reaction from this experimental vaccine? Or staff who may have reactions like myocarditis or blood clots? What are you guys going to do if someone has that? You really need to consider this. And also, as far as if the main concern is for the children, which it should be, then what about all the children that are not going to be attending school because of your unlawful mandates? Or the teachers and parents who love the kids that you're not going to have anymore, who have to either quit or get fired for not following these unlawful mandates. So, and also I would like you to consider Australia. I'm sure a lot of you heard what's going on in Australia, where people are being thrown into health camps. This lady was, a cop pulled up to this lady's porch and told her she had to put her mask on when she was drinking tea, and she's like, I'm drinking tea, and the officer said, not today. So I would like to know from you guys, what is too far for you guys for this unlawful, tyrannical overreach? Is health camps too far, or are you going to say, oh, Governor Newsom suggested that, so we're going to throw all these kids into health camps next? Where will it stop? Just remember, guys, 2 weeks to flatten the curve turned into 2 years to flatten our freedoms. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, President McFarland. Thank you. Members of the board, Dr. Washer, and student representatives. I'm here tonight for members that are not here to speak up, as you have an audience that is here to speak. There are those that do not feel safe coming to the podium to speak. With going forward with this resolution, we would ask that you survey your members about all your employees over the resolution and how they all feel about it. There have threats been made at sites. There have been unsafe acts towards your employees. They do not all feel safe being in this room, and we would ask that you reach out to them to see if you go forward with this resolution towards legislation and advocating and lobbying, that you please survey your members and how they feel about the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alex Oliferis. I'm a substitute teacher, Lodi Unified. I do not consent and I will not comply to any vaccine or even testing. And these masks are, you know, they're not really good. So no one's wearing them actually. But this resolution is very weakened. It's compromised. And I will defer to Jim Hicks. He had a good suggestion. And my suggestion is that it should say that the Lodi Unified School District will not consent and will not comply with any vaccine, mask, or testing mandate. Make it with teeth. Don't hide. Why are you afraid? You know the majority of the parents here don't like this stuff. You don't live in San Francisco. Stop pretending like you're you're representing a district in San Francisco. I remind you, 65% sheriff deputies in San Joaquin County have openly stated to the sheriff, and this coming out of the words of Sheriff Withrow, saying, I will not take the vaccine, and if they are forced to, they're going to walk off the job. So the emperor has no clothes in the state of California. Law enforcement majority are not taking it. They may not say it out in open, they talk to each other. There's lawsuits by the firefighters in Los Angeles against the mandate. Same thing in San Francisco. Of course there's a media blackout. They're not mentioning any of these lawsuits. And thank God for the airline pilots of Southwest and American Airlines who said we're not going to work, and they canceled flights. They didn't take the vaccine, and they said we're not taking it. And all these companies are doing the same thing. They can't enforce it. They know they can't enforce it. It's a bunch of garbage. And by the way, 2 days ago in Pennsylvania, the state court has clearly taken off the school mask mandate in Pennsylvania. It's unconstitutional in Pennsylvania. You know it's unconstitutional. Folks, you know it's unconstitutional. Stop hiding. Okay? Now, we need to make this resolution really tough, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm an employee and a parent. I want to ask, have any of you worn a mask without the government or a mandate telling you to? Sorry, I'm going to try not to get emotional. Have you ever had to wear one without truly worrying about you're going to get sick or dying? Well, my son has. He spent 3.5 years fighting leukemia. He had times he had to wear a mask. He was embarrassed, he was sick, and he was a teenager. When your child tells you, well, the only good thing about a mask mandate is now kids with cancer don't have to be embarrassed and alone. He is resisting the mask mandate, big time. I get calls from teachers. I ask him to wear it. Possibly due to PTSD, maybe just because he's a teenager now. He finished treatment in June, he's back to normal, and now he can be a normal teenager. Maybe both. Kids I have seen, read about, and been around in the oncology unit have done extremely well with COVID. Oncologists are saying they've done very well. They haven't gotten too sick. Why will I give him a vaccine that could possibly hurt him even more than he's already been hurt? I refuse to do that. I will not give him a vaccine. He will be pulled from school before that happens. I will not let anybody, the government, tell me that I need to do something that could possibly harm him after everything he's already been through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before you go, I just want to, I'm hoping that you'll be our last speaker. We've exceeded our 20-minute time frame, but I want to make sure everyone is heard. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Frederick Newman. I have a kindergartner, 8th grader, and a senior in high school. So there's been a lot of emotions up here today. I just want to state some numbers. So everybody understands numbers, especially teachers and parents. So about 8,000 kids die a year from falling accidents. Falling off a cliff, falling
Hold on
off
just
a
a
tree.
moment. Why is his light blinking green? I just want to make sure you get your time.
I'll
Got it?
make it quick.
Perfect. No, you're okay. Continue.
So last year, 2020, 264 kids died from with COVID-19. 98% of them had comorbidities. This is children under the age of 18. So you're roughly 32 times more likely to die from falling. Falling in a school parking lot and hitting your head, right? You can get sued for that, insurance. Why aren't we mandating kids to wear helmets, hard hats, maybe dress them up like football players? Children are 3.5 times more likely to commit suicide than they are to die from COVID. Has anybody thought about how many kids have decided to kill themselves because the masks make them that much more unhappy? You know, there's a lot of emotions that come with this, right? With COVID and vaccines and mandates, and some people are just not going to comply. Well, I'm one of those people that are not going to comply. If this vaccine mandate comes, I'm going to pull my kids out of school. And you know, the one thing I will teach them is that you have a right to say no, you have a right to think for yourself, and that you don't have to be afraid of breathing air. I see children walking down the street, nobody's around them. Nobody's around them for 100 feet and they're wearing masks. We're scaring people to death. If you're young, if you're healthy, you're more likely to die driving to school or driving home from school. So maybe the school board can buy the parents with the most unsafe vehicles, Volvos, and maybe save some lives. And I don't mean to be smart ass, but it's the truth. Thank you.
I wasn't planning on saying anything, but my heart just told me that I needed to. These are my 4 kids here. I pulled them out of school because I'm not going to.
Can we start with your name,
My
please?
name's Austin Christensen. I was a Mahoney. And I wasn't going to let my kids wear a mask. My kids haven't worn a mask ever. In the last 1.5 years, I've had 3 miscarriages, and 9 years ago I had another one. I've lost 4 children. And I want to tell you, there is nothing like the pain of losing a child, and I would never in my life allow someone to inject an experimental vaccine into my children. I will do everything that I can to protect my kids. And President McFarland,
Yes.
you said that you have to put your personal life to the side. That doesn't make a lick of sense.
Amen.
You're here to fight for your rights and your beliefs. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Fight for us. Fight for the moms and dads who will lay down their lives for their kids. I would lay down my life for every child that I have lost. I would never allow something like an experimental vaccine that has proven to actually harm children.
Yes.
You guys have to hear what we're saying. I'm a mom. Look into my eyes. This is serious. This is serious. And if you are recommending that parents who maybe don't understand what they're doing actually inject their children, people are listening to you guys. Do not stray them in the wrong direction.
Right.
Okay, I just had mentioned that that was our last speaker.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but I'm willing to let you, as long as everyone in the room understands. This
I have
is-
a real short, just.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to give what's happened in my family. I have, all my children are grown, they have children, I have 10 grandchildren. My son has 4 children. I had the vaccines, my wife had them, all my other children had them. My son got the vaccine, and he ended up with shingles in his intestines from the shots. And his doctor says, that's kind of a standard thing that they're finding out now. So just think about it, all these little kids that are gonna have a reaction, and he's a grown man and he's been in a lot of pain. And just, stand for the people.
Thank you.
Are we going to this too late for student comments?
Absolutely not.
Before you asked earlier for our comments, and I was caught a little off guard because I wasn't sure if we were asked, but I really felt the need to say this. In class, I have this student next to me. He pulls down his mask to sneeze and cough. 3 or 4 years ago, it would have meant absolutely nothing. But now I flinch, I worry myself, thinking I'll be one of those individuals with tubes in my throat. I am the demographic we're all debating. I am representing my school when I make this statement. This mask I wear on my face is a symbol of safety and unity that we all want this.
I'm sorry, can we let her speak, please? She was very respectful when everyone else spoke. I would appreciate that you give her the same respect. Thank you.
The many friends I talk to each day who read the day masks aren't mandated are the so many days we won't feel safe. I 100% believe in freedom of choice, but not when it endangers the safety of me, my friends, and my family. All in all, I don't feel safe with one student's mask down. I can't imagine how I'd feel walking around with 2,000 students' masks were down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, board, now that we've discussed it, is there any additional board comments before we make a decision to?
I think y'all are quick.
Mr. President, members of the board,
Yes.
this is a report item, there is no action taken. You can give us direction to bring this same resolution back at the next meeting. You can tell us not to bring it back. If you're not interested, you can tell us to make changes.
Okay, I'd like to pull the board. Is anyone not wanted to come back? Let's start there. We have one that does not want to. Everybody else, any other board comments they'd like to add before we? Okay, Dr. Washer, they would like it to come back and.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to consent agenda A. Would anyone on the board like to pull? We're going to take a quick break for maybe 5 minutes and let everybody readjust or do what they need to do, and we'll come back to consent agenda A. consent agenda A. Thank you.
Let's do it.
Okay, moving on to consent agenda A. Would anyone like to pull anything from consent agenda A?
Yes, ma'am. Let's go A4 and A15.
A4 and A15, Mr. Neely. Anyone else on board? Anyone from the audience? Okay, let's.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve cover the rest of routine agenda A.
Second.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
Wow, okay. So, Mr. Nava motion, and was it Mr. Freitas? Now I know no one looks this side as president. I really apologize, gentlemen.
You always look at this side. What are you talking about? You never look mine.
Well, I don't know where you were from. Oh, good lord.
There we go.
Okay, anyone from the audience? No one's pulling anything, correct? We're gonna move ahead with the motion. Calling for the vote, thank you. Seven zero, the motion and second passes, and we're gonna move on to consent agenda A4, Mr. Neely.
Thank you, President McFarland. Real quickly, I just want Mr. Khan to explain where that $7+ million came from. Can you do that? You bet.
Thank you, Mr. Neely, President McFarland Board, and Dr. Washer. Michael, can we get to page 5 of 10? And Mr. Neely, fortunately, I don't have to explain it. There's nowhere else the fiscal directors would rather be tonight. So you have Director Adina Andrus in the house to explain it.
It is kind of a joy to be here, isn't it?
It is. Would you rather sit down and, because you're coming up against. Yeah.
All right. So, yes, as he's pulling that up, I'd like to share that the majority, is it right there? 7.18 million increase is due to the increased LCFF revenues. And that's the supplemental concentration, mostly concentration, and we will actually cover that in the first interim report item, if that is all right.
Is that the money from the increase from 50, what was it, 50%
From
to
50% to 65, yes.
Got it. That makes
Absolutely,
sense.
on the concentration grant.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Great, so we have a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you. No, I'm looking this way, and Mr. Neely motion and Mr. Nava second. Call for the vote. Guys, you're dead to me over there. Motion passes 7-0. Item A15, Mr. Neely.
Thank you. Now, we'll be quick about this, because it's just a comment on it. I looked through some of these, and there's some pretty generic stuff in there. What I'd like to see, Dr. Washer, is, and I'm going to vote to pass this, of course, but I would like to see what some of our schools are doing specifically. And I'd like that to come back, people sharing what they've been successful at, and then we can get that back out. This is a huge thing. Parent, family involvement is a huge thing. So let's find out what works, and let's get it out there to everybody, and let's report back to the board on it. That's all I've got. With that, I move that we approve item A15.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Neely motions, Mr. Porter seconds. Instead of a board report, could she maybe get us that information and then bring it back so we can revote on it? Are you content with that? Or would you like an actual board report on it?
I'd like to vote on this one.
Yes.
And then I'd like something to come back.
Spotlight.
Yeah, spotlight, that'd be good.
There we go, compromise.
Yep.
I call for the vote. And it passes 7-0. Moving on, consent agenda B, student disciplinary cases.
Move to approve.
Second.
Call for the vote. Oh, actually, I apologize. Any board comments? Any public comments? Move to vote. Passes 7-0. Moving on to other action items. First interim report. And they're here and ready.
Thank you again, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Again, I'd like to present your Director 3 of Budgets. Director Andres will provide you with the report on the district's first interim.
Hello and good evening.
Good evening.
And, I'd like to start with the executive summary, if we could please pull that up. So in this executive summary, what we try to provide is the global updates of what has happened since adopted budget all the way up until first interim, which was the period ending October 31st of this year. So the really big thing is all the carryover amounts, and when we're referring to carryover, we are referring to unspent budget monies from the fiscal year 2021 into this fiscal year. And if you look, we have 38.2 million federal, 17.4 in state, on the site department 674, 5.8 on local restricted, and then 14.8 on local unrestricted. And it is a huge, if it seems like really large dollar amounts, this is substantially higher than a typical year for Lodi, and the main reason for that is due to all the CARES money that has been flown, in addition to all typical carryover that we usually have. So what has been built into, again, at first interim is 5.07 COLA this year, and then the COLA projections for the out years remain. So this is no change from adopted 2.48 for 22-23 and then 3.11 for 23-24. And the main update to the revenues is the 7.1 in LCFF revenues that was brought forth earlier in the item. We do, even with all these monies and carryover, we are still, declining in enrollment. We're down here on this executive summary where, we state that we're down 1,200. My last count is 1,252. Mr. Khan, what is that about your account for the last 3 years as well? There was a silver lining due to all this COVID in that we are still held harmless from the spring, March 2020. So we are still funded on that ADA, which is $26,727. Our latest projections are, I'm going to use this word, very scary. We're at $24,807. So next fiscal year is when we're going to actually be funded on this ADA, on the $24,807. So yeah, we will lose that, hold harmless.
And those calculations are in.
And those are included in your multi-year projections at first interim here in this report.
Michael, can I get the PowerPoint?
Do we ask questions on this?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Neely.
What about, you said most of that's CARES or a lot of CARES, how much?
We have it in the PowerPoint slide.
Okay, all right. So, never mind then, you're going to answer all those questions.
Correct.
Okay.
Just one moment, Mr. Porter.
Yes, on your hold harmless, it's my understanding that the state is looking at different ways, because I believe 50% of school districts they have declining enrollment, and that they're looking at different ways of funding besides ADA, and to offset the to continue with hold harmless or something similar to that. Has anything come your way? Are you seeing legislation being pushed that way?
Nothing firm yet, but there is talk.
I was at CSBA and I was sat in with some lobbyists, and they were discussing that probably, well, in their eyes, things might go away in terms of doing our funding by ADA. Are you looking at things like that, or are you sticking to the fact that it will be ADA?
Well, in this, we must stick with the actual projections right now. We're hopeful. I mean, LAO announced an extra $31 billion in tax receipts.
Right.
I don't know how much of that could be used towards something like that, but.
No, I was just curious if your department had any inkling to what might be happening through the state. Obviously, you have to go by what's on the books, because that's what you have to go by. I was just curious. Thank you very much.
So, Michael, can we see slide 3? It's the graph. So if the board will forgive me, I will. It's not the graph. That one.
The enrollment.
The line graph. Right? If the board will forgive me, I'll interrupt Director Andrus' presentation. I'm sure everybody's quite used to me droning on about this, but this graphically tells the story. The green line is our latest week enrollment. Black year is a 3-year mean, or black is last year's CBEDS or CalPAD state, and the red is a 3-year mean. The visual that the green line is underneath pretty much every cohort is pretty obvious. We do have an actual bump in 12th graders. This is an unusual state of affairs. As you can see, we have more 12th graders. We believe that has to do with the COVID 50-year senior. However, in my mind, it doesn't tell a good story because the number of seniors, juniors, 10th graders, and 9th graders is well above your K3 levels right now. So if nothing changes there, then every year as the 12th graders move on and lower kinders come in, we have a natural drain on enrollment. And Michael, if you could go 2 slides down, I believe, to slide 5. Apologies again, but I threw this in. I know we have many of the board members that are highly supportive of science programs. We even have Mr. Porter spent his career in science. I threw this slide in because we are at critical state. It doesn't feel like it because there is so much of this ancillary money flowing into school districts. But this tells the story that we've been, or I've been preaching at our SBAC committees. A little bit of a plug. Anybody that's interested, 5 p.m. tomorrow, be there or be square. We have another SBAC to explain this. But district-wide, and these are teachers that the board currently employs. These are real human beings. And we are under 19-to-1 district-wide. What Director Andrus has noted is that there are also 80 unfilled FTE positions that are drawing budget out of the board's budget, even though that money is not actually being spent because nobody's in the position.
Did you say 80?
80. Now that's a little bit of bump from from the 3-year average. We usually track anywhere from mid-40s to low 50s in terms of budgeted but unfilled positions. I know Mr. Neely has asked several times, where does all this money at the end of a budget year come from? The bulk of it is from the unfilled teacher positions and also a lot of classified positions as well. Upwards of 100 FTE, 150 FTE on the classified side. To quantify that, $13 to $15 million a year is being budgeted but not spent because nobody's in the position. And just looking at this slide, if we were to fill the positions, we would have some very low adult to student ratios in this district.
Next slide, please. So this is just a slide describing what carryover is and why it needs to follow it. Next slide, yeah, so this gives a breakdown by dollar amount, graphical form. Next slide is federal carryover. So here the CARES, I'm going to read off some of the resources. So when you see resource 3210 of 1.6, 3212 of 26.19, 3215, let me see, and then some of the other pots. So that's that makes up your federal CARES that we received, or we had to budget for it last year, and it rolled over into this year.
This is what we affectionately refer to as Dr. Solly's money.
We have another round of CARES funding coming
We do.
up.
ESSER 3 and a lot of other mini pots of ESSER that are coming will make it. State carryover. So on this one, it would be 7425, the 2.3 million, and then the 7426, 1.8 million. In terms of CARES, next slide is just your state carryover. Next slide. That's just site department, but resource codes. Oh, okay, so we're gonna skip, if we can skip to adopted expenditures, the 427.3 million, is you'll see, compared to adopted, you'll see like we call them the fours, books and supplies.
Pie chart.
Oh, the pie chart. Thank you.
13.
Yeah, and then your operating services make a bigger percentage compared to adopted, and that is simply all the CARES money.
But this is a graphic that's often asked for a breakdown of expenditures by bargaining unit.
And then these are your ending fund projections on the next slide as the first interim. And then we have your updated unrestricted ending fund reserve assignments. And you'll notice that we, based on the latest calculation, the supplemental concentration grant funds, the increase to those, it's a balance between the base funds and the supplemental concentration. So that is the $7.23 million that is in the reserves until we can work with Dr. Solly's office to realign those. So that is an update.
And in this report, it's obvious that at least budgetarily, it appears that the district is burning lots of cash. I've asked Director Andrus to actually unfund 26 teacher FTEs and 35?
Closer to 37.
37 classified FTEs. We're roughly halfway through the year. I do not think in the current labor environment it's likely that those positions get filled. I think this is a more accurate portrayal of where the board stands. However, that is just a budgetary contrivance. The board still has not eliminated any positions, so those are back in the 22-23 budget that you see on the multi-year projection.
Mr. Porter had a question?
As the state, with its surplus, helping offset the money that you have to put into the the STIRS money, I heard that they were trying to help the school districts, instead of doing a full percentage, that they were going to give them a couple percent or help them with a few percent on that to help with their budget. Is that correct?
And are you referring to the LAO report? I think that was a recommendation.
Yeah, but we really won't know more till the governor's January budget. They're all sort of jockeying right now.
So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit.
But
it's in print.
It is in print.
It is being discussed.
So that would help our budget here.
Yeah.
My last question is, and I brought this up earlier, how much is not being funded by the federal government for special ed that we have to make up for out of our
40 million?
Out of our general budget?
40 million.
So we're spending 40 million. And that should be coming from the federal government.
Federal and state.
Federal and
because it is a federal mandate.
So it's a federal mandate. So we are supplementing 40 million?
Yes.
40?
40.
Out of our general budget? Okay, thank you.
Just a comment on special ed. Mr. Martin and of course Mr. Warren succeeding him have done an excellent job in flatlining those expenditures for several years now. And that's progress in budgetarily. Now funding is actually going up, so in the next year's budget, it's likely the board will see increases in special ed costs because there is additional revenue.
I mean, it's righteous money. We have to spend it for a righteous thing. I just wish that the federal and state, these are issues I was bringing up earlier during the comments, that we would be focused on to help our school district achieve our goal of providing the best education. So that's a lot of money that could be used for all kids. But of course, we have to do what's best for all kids and offset it. Thank you very much.
It's still an unfunded mandate, which is part of this one. If it's a great idea, pay for it.
But we have the point of questions now for them. Okay. We talked about how much the money was for CARES, and you said we talked about that. When I go to your reserves, the federal carryover, it's the exact same figure as it is in the executive summary. So are you saying that all of the federal money is CARES carryover?
No.
Okay. Back to the original question.
Okay.
How much of that amount is CARES and how much of it is other carryover?
Got it. So
And if you don't know, I'll take an email on it.
we'll get you an email.
And we'll put it in SBAC
We'll
tomorrow.
put it in that.
Okay. And same thing goes with state because it matches up there exactly as well. Now, go back to slide number 5. And that's the teacher one there. Of that 1467 teachers that we show there, how many of those are classroom teachers? And what I'm trying to get at here is where are we actually at in the classroom? Because I know this includes, the 1467 includes some of our coaches and some of those other things. So where are we at actually in the classrooms as far as an average class size?
I'd say about 1360, 1357. You've got about 70, you have in-house 73 RSP teachers plus I think 3 that are serving self-asides and then another 38 coaches.
Okay, so you're saying knock off about 100, am I understanding?
110.
About 110?
Yes.
Okay, I can do the math on that. In the future, if we're doing stuff like this, it might be helpful, especially as we're going forward with this, is by grade levels. I mean, not each individual, but K3 as a block, 4, 6, you know, how we've got it laid out as far as our class size. So we see where we're at in there.
If I may inform, on the line graph that we presented earlier on slide 3, that is on the Business Services website under enrollment graphs.
Okay.
If you go to page, I think 3 of those, at the bottom there's arrows. We actually have a breakdown of K6 by grade level. Actual teachers to students in the classroom.
Oh. Okay, but that doesn't have the number of teachers, it has the number of students.
Per teacher.
Here's what I'd like to know, and only you guys can tell me this, okay? I want to know what the average number of students to teacher, what the student-teacher ratio is in K3, in 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 12. And I think we ought to be able to do that. Now, I'm not in a hurry for it, okay? So you don't have to go back and work real hard on it tonight. You can wait till tomorrow morning to work real hard.
Up to 8 o'clock.
All right, so that's that one. Ms. Porter, you mentioned the hold harmless. I spoke with Dennis Myers from CSBA about that on the delegate assembly. And they're not putting as much emphasis on it as I would like to see, and I think that we're going to have to force that. I find that when we force things on CSBA, that they will make it happen. Started years ago through special ed. As a matter of fact, I think there's something on there's a lot of talk lately about special ed, about giving extra money for special ed per student, right? So it does start to happen. So that's on that one. Vacant positions I talked about, I got that. That's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Any other board comments? Mr. Freitas.
Leonard, Andres, wow, once again. What a ton of work and balance to the penny, and what a problem to have Dr. Solly's money in his cookie jar. But you never cease to amaze us with these great budgets, and all the board thanks you very, very much for your hard work and the work of all your staff. So please thank all of them for all of us. Thank you.
Just, I wanted to thank you real quick, and I'm sure we'll get lots more detail tomorrow at the SBAC meeting. It's quite riveting, boys. You should all come.
And President McFarland, I would move to approve OAI 1.
I would love to take your motion, but I believe we have one public speaker.
Thank you, President McFarland. Just a couple of questions, and we have seen these numbers at Expeditures and talked about the positions that have been budgeted, but nobody's been filling. And currently, we have positions that do not have Lodi Unified teachers. Really?
I
apologize, Michelle. Thank you. So, I called it earlier. Chelsea can vouch for that one. We have talked about positions that have been budgeted for but not filled. And we currently have positions in our district that remain unfilled. And we don't have Lodi teachers teaching it. They are outsourced. It has been mentioned that we are proposing for next year, this number, reducing the number of staff, budgeting differently for next year. But what I've heard is that we're looking at budgeting for more intervention teachers going into the classroom and helping out at different sites with academic intervention. I really hope that our focus is on making sure that we have a teacher who is certificated or permitted in every classroom that is a Lodi Unified staff member for all of our students. And I hope that's our direction first, that we don't outsource these teaching positions and draw from the bank of teachers that we are currently training to work with students. So I'm a bit worried about the reduction that SBAC we've heard about coming, and that it's up to the board to budget appropriately. But then I hear rumors that we're possibly adding more intervention teachers outside. So I am concerned. I do like the direction that we're going with more non-split special ed positions. My time's almost up. And going full-time and helping with the intervention on that side. And I think that sounds like a great model going forward. But I am concerned if we were looking at reducing numbers through attrition, but we also pull, will we have enough highly qualified teachers for our classrooms next year? And I don't know that anyone can answer that question tonight, but something we've heard, and I don't see it reflected here, that change is being added for next year.
President McFarland,
If you'd like to answer that question, or you can also do it via an email if you'd like to. Your choice.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
So, I mentioned earlier, this is critical state. This is the point at which it's either going to go really bad or really good, but this is solely accounting for the district's primary budget. Ms. Orgon's correct. There's plenty of discussion about adding just a tidal wave of intervention type classrooms or reducing combos. That is all Dr. Solly's money that's going to pay for that. That has a shelf life on it. That's not what we're talking about here in your first interim. We're talking about a focus on your ongoing normal revenue minus expenditures type of budget. If I can comment further about the loss of teachers, there's no, at least not in our minds, the idea of letting anybody go. The board presently has about 270 teaching staff at row 25 or beyond in terms of their pay scale. We believe that the retirements are going to come organically. And then Mr. McKilligan will have a job trying to find replacements in this labor environment. But from a budget standpoint, it's a bit of a buffer and a safety net. But we still have the issue of just a massively budgeted balance sheet where there's really not a real expenditure that exists in the balance.
So thank you for explaining that that's coming out of Dr. Solly's money. I guess we're going to call it Solly's money now. Hopefully it's not funny money. And I appreciate that clarification because that was one of the things after SBAC that we saw. And just an additional comment to, oh my gosh, I almost said Coach, Mr. Porter and others about special ed. And we have been lobbying as teachers for the 70% funding for special ed, and we're slowly seeing that. So yes, we want everyone lobbying the state and federal government to fully fund, because they're funding at 40% instead of, 100%. But we've been advocating for at least 70%, which we've seen some changes. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Okay, and so I have a motion by Mr. Freitas and a second from Ms. Neely. Call for the vote. And the motion passes 7-0. Moving on, OAI 2, Annual Audit Report ending June 30th. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer. While the budget report was somewhat mixed, ranging from very scary to there's money in here that's budgeted but won't be spent, I can promise you far better news with your audit report. So I'd like to welcome Peggy Vandervoorn from Gilbert, and your own Senior Director Controller, Ms. April Juarez.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mrs. Board President, members of the board, Dr. Washer. Would like to present the annual audit report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. For review and approval or acceptance by the board. Last November 22nd, 2021, the annual audit committee meeting was held with the members of the audit committee, Mrs. McFarland, Mr. Knexted, and Mr. Heberly, with Dr. Washer, Mr. Khan, and yours truly. We met with our auditor from Gilbert CPA to went over the details of the audit report. So tonight we have Miss Peggy Vandervoorn to go over briefly the executive summary.
Good evening.
Welcome.
So my name is Peggy Vandervoorn, and I'm a shareholder with Gilbert. I know I've met with many of you guys over the years. And met with you back on November 22nd for a little over an hour, so don't worry, I'm not going to keep you here for an hour tonight. We put together an executive summary. I'm just going to briefly talk about a summary of the results and to kind of remind you of what the scope of our work is that the district hires us for. We were hired to do the 2021 financial audit of the district, but also included in our scope includes state and federal compliance. This year, the district received quite a bit of federal funding. It was about a $40 million increase in federal funding this year because of the CARES Act and influx of money that the districts across the United States were receiving to respond to COVID-19. So a lot of our compliance work was related to federal funding, and a lot of our compliance state funding. There was a lot of changes in that area also because of the distance learning, the rules and regulations all changed with that. I'm happy to report that we have no findings in those areas, and we tested a significant amount. We appreciate the district's patience with us. The feds have identified those programs as high risk, which means that it drives up the number of transactions that we need to test. So we're very happy to report that we have a clean, no findings report to issue today.
Yeah, somebody said, wow, that's huge.
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 Especially with CARES money.
Yeah, so, yes, a lot of things were changing, as you know. The rules and regulations were constantly changing related to how you could spend it, couldn't spend it. Then you had 3 different buckets, ESSER 1, 2, and 3. Sounds like 3 you guys are going to budgeting for and spending here in the next fiscal year, so we'll take a look at that next year. Very clean audit. Also, what's very commendable here, and April and her team are really the ones that take the credit for the financial statements, not us. We're just providing an opinion that's included in here, and we provided a clean, unmodified opinion, meaning that the financial statements are materially accurate. We did not come across any audit adjustments in the financial statements, and I know I mentioned that to the audit committee, but I think it's important for the full board to hear that. The financial information that's in this audit report that you see is consistent with what the unaudited actuals were that you accepted and approved back in September. So with that, The other scope of our work that we do is we audit, do a performance audit of your Measure U and L bond measure, and those are compliance audits, and we had no findings in those two reports either. So that's all I was going to cover today. I know it's an 80-page report. I can go into a little more detail if you'd like. We can talk about PERS and STIRS and pension and OPEB liabilities and stuff, but if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to address them for you.
Mr. Connect.
Really don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you, and based upon not having any issues in our audit report, I move to approve.
Second that.
Any other comments from the board?
Page, go to page 6, please. Take a look at the graph on page 6. It's entitled Available Reserves. Now, we've caught a lot about how high the reserves get. But if you look at this, can you explain this? That's just unrestricted general fund money?
So this, the way we put this graph together is to be consistent with the financial statements. What's included in here is your reserve for economic uncertainty. That's required by the state, and I believe it's 3%.
Okay, yeah.
And then any other unrestricted money that, as what was presented in your unaudited actual report.
So that's available. We show $60 million carryover. But this is actually what's available. The rest of it is money that has been designated. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this represents the 3% reserve for economic uncertainty plus the board.
That's all that is.
Right.
Got it. Never mind. Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Any other comments before we move?
Mr. Khan, hit it out of the park again. Way to go. Thank you and the great staff.
I'd like to call for the vote, but right before I do that, thank you. I don't know how we got so lucky to have so many qualified, outstanding employees. We are truly fortunate, and I want to thank you for all the work that you do. Mr. Khan, I know they make you look good, but we know they're killing it, so thank you. Yeah. I'd like to call for the vote.
Motion passes 7-0. Moving on, OAI3, Mr. Freitas.
Thank you, President McFarland. This is the item that we had at our last meeting, and long overdue. I would move that we approve it.
Second.
Okay, any board comments?
Comment?
Yes.
Last time it was brought forward, I had a couple of things to say, and so does some of the other board members. I just wanted to reiterate a couple of points and some thoughts that I had, and I just felt that I needed to say them, so I will. The content and the meaning of the statement is already included in our district vision and mission statements. And so clearly this is a restatement of what we already have in place, which brings forward the question, why this particular point of the district vision and mission statements? It was mentioned previously that it's important to bring things forward. If you're doing something well, bring it forward. It's a positive step, and emphasize those things. Well, I agree. I have no argument with that. I absolutely agree. If that's the case, though, following that same logic, why don't we have a student safety statement? Why don't we have an employee safety statement, or an academic statement? without those things, the equity statement doesn't seem to matter nearly as much. So I look at this as a lot of political theater. These things are already stated. They don't need to be restated over and over and over, and especially giving one importance over the other. It's on the mission and vision statements for a reason. It's because we believe that they're all important and that they should all have an equal weight in what we do and how we do it. There's a lot of different ways in we can do that. We could bring up the vision, mission statement once a year and say, hey, look, we look at this, we still believe it. And so we're looking at it again and letting people know that we believe that these items on our vision, mission statement have value still. But to single out one aspect of that, to me, seems inappropriate. So a lot of it is then, okay, Ron, what do you want? I think it might be, in my opinion, why don't we just do it that way and not give one thing precedent over another? And I'd like to urge my fellow board members to just kind of pause for a second, and we can table this or just let it go. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hammerly. Mr. Porter?
With regards to the equity statement, I believe this is an issue that you cannot state enough. And it is I used the word earlier today, righteous. I really firmly believe in this statement. It's something that we need to talk about almost every day. Systemically, there is inequities. And we've got to root that out and make sure that every child is treated and given all the things that they need in order to succeed. That's our goal. So I'm full support of this. I think it's a wonderful thing to bring up. We should bring it up every year and talk about it. You can never state it enough that all children need to be treated with equal amounts of attention, emphasis, materials, so they can be successful. That's our goal, is for our children to be successful and for all children to be successful. So that's why I support this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Any other board comments? All right, we have a motion and a second on the table. We'd like to call for the vote. Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. Okay, I call for the vote now. Thank you. And the motion carries 5-2. Moving on, OAI 4, Resolution 2021-66. Mr. Khan.
Excuse me.
I apologize.
Okay.
I'm a little killed here.
It is getting later in the evening, Mr. Khan.
This is the board's pool award. All the pertinent data is in there. Staff is recommending award to Dee, who prevailed in an assessment by 9 of our staff members. They did very well. We'd also like to commend the other 3 participants. At least one of them scored well enough that it's clear that staff does see some role for that firm in our future, but Dee did prevail in this bid. I'll remind the board that the board directed and then moved this into the resolution to fund with Measure U money, primarily due to the savings on the M&O facility, where staff realized some $10 million in savings at board's direction to go with metal buildings and other value-added redesigns. So this is before the board, and we highly recommend the award tonight. Be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Board questions? Yes, Mr. Porter.
Good job, Mr. Khan. Let's get this done. I'm tired of people calling me, telling me, look, I need the pool. I've been here for 40 years. Let's just build the damn thing and call it a day, all right? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this
A
resolution.
second.
Thank you.
How much is this thing gonna cost us altogether?
Well, in our construction documents that went to market, we listed 12 million. On the board's budget sheet, we have approximately 14 million for, including the locker room and the fire lane change. So,
Well, I swam in that pool, sir.
Peanuts. Split it up.
That's how it is.
I care deeply, Mr. Neely, but it is 10 to 10. I call for the vote.
I will comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'll make it really quick. Yes, Mr. Neely, I swam in that pool in the late 60s, early 70s, and it was old then. Yeah, you know, I'm old. Get over it. But what I did want to say is, once again, here we have a Measure U facility bond project that is absolutely vital. And thank goodness we're bringing it forward. Thank goodness we're getting it done. Mr. Porter said, get her done. And thank you, public, for trusting us and passing this bond.
Thank you, Mr. Heberly. Public comment?
Would like to reiterate, as someone who was there in the 60s.
Did you also swim in the pool?
Yes, in the 60s and 70s and during their summer program before I was enrolled in this district. But for all the swimmers and water polo players and those that are learning how to swim, we appreciate the measure money going towards this. That was one of the issues when Mr. Freitas was leading the Measure U campaign. Thank you for fulfilling those desires and wishes.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion. We have a motion and a second on the table. You already voted? And it passes 7-0. Okay, Mr. Khan, make it happen. OAI 5, Mr. Khan.
thank you, President McFarlane, members of the boards, and Dr. Washer. Before you is the district's annual Monteith or developer fee report. I will admit we are a bit behind our time. We need to get another 5-year study done. Some districts are going 10 years, but staff is currently shaking the trees to see what kind of consultants we might procure. At that point, we will likely bring a recommendation to increase fees again, but we think we should do the 5-year report first. But I'd like to, Michael, if you go to the document, it's page 6 of 9, just focus on table 2. That's, in my opinion, the meat of the document. You took in about 6.7 million in developer fees in the 2021 year, not this year, last year. Also, you spent about 680,000. That was to place portables at your growth schools, including Live Oak, Lodi Middle, and Larson. You'll also notice one item, negative 77,000 in fair value of investments. This is not a loss. It is a mark-to-market. Your money is in either LAIF or county treasury in very safe investments, but as many of you are aware, interest rates have gone up since the lows. That's why the price of your securities has gone down. The proper way to look at this is look at the 103,000 in interest that you earned minus the mark-to-market. That's your net take for this school year, the 2021. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Can we get the public comments? None? Okay. Call for the vote.
Seconds.
Now, a second. Yeah, now.
And motion approved, 7-0. Moving on, OAI 6, Dr. Solly. You still want to do it tonight?
Move to approve.
President McFarland, members of the board, as presented at the last board meeting, the educator effectiveness plan is submitted for your review.
Oh, you are good.
Wow.
Board comments. Board comments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
We need to have public comment. I can always take them. Okay.
Thank you, President McFarland. Yes, we would hope that with the approval of this and that it is a target, and we hope that with those items listed on this going forward, that there are negotiations and discussions with all bargaining units for the expenditures and maybe changes on expenditures for this going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With a motion and a second, we call for the vote. Count.
Sorry. Slow electricity load.
Dial up. Motion approved, 7-0. Mr. McKilligan, you're up. Personnel matters.
Madam President, personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
Mr. President, I move we approve personnel matters.
Comment?
Board comments.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Learn from the master.
Personnel matters come to us every regular meeting, and it's like a report item from your department every meeting. And a lot of times it's, when we do get a report item, we thank the people for their gathering the information and presenting it to us. So I just wanted to kind of take a pause and tell you thank you. I know that this is a lot of work with hires, retirements, change in positions, all of that stuff. And I just want you to know that I appreciate it. It's noticed. And please pass on the thank you to your department for me. Thank
I
you.
will do that. That's who deserves it. I will let them know.
And I will add all the questions from your board regularly. We do appreciate it. Apologize.
And I do like your statement. So,
Okay, let's call, public comment? Nope. Paul?
personnel matter, public comment.
I just didn't know if you were standing for personnel matters. Did you have a public comment? No. Okay, call for the vote. Motion passes 7-0. Comments from employee groups. Now we're ready, Michelle.
Sorry, I thought you voted and it was like, what?
Okay, I just didn't want to miss you.
Thank you, and good evening, President McFarland, members of the board, Dr. Washer and staff. Those of you who have stuck it out this late tonight, thank you. Just brief informational, as brief as I can. We have started negotiating, have been negotiating, and as the agenda showed, the first of our sunshine has been passed. We look forward to the January date for the public hearing. Leah has passed some documents to the district asking for the district to give members COVID leave days. We have concerns that teachers who have been asked to quarantine per protocols are having these deducted from their sick leave and or pay because they've run out of sick leave. How can this be a standard practice with the language that we penalize teachers within our contract by the loss of early health benefits if they have unpaid time, which we believe some of our members are headed towards because of the COVID leave? For teachers who have spent their entire careers with Lodi Unified, or those who have spent their last 10 years of their teaching career in Lodi Unified, we believe it is a sign of respect that all of your teachers should be given days and not being taken out of their sick leave or deducted from their paycheck if they have to quarantine because of the protocols put in place. Examples: new mothers who have spent all of their sick leave on maternity leave and then gone on differential for family leave do not have sick leave to take out. So as they return back to the classroom, if they are quarantined, they would then end up losing pay for this because it does not qualify any longer. We know that the statute for the state ran out September 30th. However, we believe with the millions of COVID dollars that we need to conduct business to protect our employees, to keep our employees, and show good faith for them working in a safe environment and not coming to work sick because they're going to be deducted pay. You want to keep those highly qualified teachers that you've trained. We need to do everything that we can to protect them, protect their sick leave, protect their families and salaries so that they can continue to provide for their families. You are competing against neighboring districts that have awarded additional COVID days to their bargaining units so they don't run out. Those other districts do not have the penalty in their contract language that if they had any unpaid time, they would not be able to access early health benefits. So I would ask you to consider in looking at negotiations and bargaining with the association, what is it that we want to hold dear? Do we want to make sure that we keep our highly qualified teachers in our district with our students? I would also ask you to look at our most vulnerable teachers, our preschool teachers. They are the lowest paying teachers that we have in our district. And we hope that we are expanding their salary schedule in the future. And we hope that you consider really expanding and granting them appropriate pay for the work that they do like other teachers do. I want to thank former President Freitas for his ongoing dialogue over his tenure as president on this board. The association does appreciate all that we did not always agree. We did not always come to the same path to get to the same place, but you always had the heart looking after our students, looking after teachers, and we thank you for that in your tenure. And we look forward to Mrs. McFarland as president, leading the ship, if you will, in the direction of caring for all employees and students this next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That's very kind of you and Elliot.
Thank you, Michelle. Comments from the board members?
Well, I get to go first after going last all the time. So let me congratulate the new officers. Congratulations on your selection. I know you're going to do an amazing job, all three of you. I'd also like to thank the board for the comments. I'm very humbled and very honored for everything that was said. And short but sweet, I wish everybody a very happy holiday season, safe new year, and I look forward to 2022 and seeing what this board is going to do next and what staff is going to bring for us. So, happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. Yes, Mr. Knapp.
I just want to say that most of us got a chance to go over to Lodi High School and take a little tour of the new site. It's very dramatic. I mean, it's, as a person who spent his entire career there, this is it's an amazing facility, and we in the community need to be very proud of it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other board comments?
Just a quick one. I just wanted to tell everybody, I wanted to extend a Merry Christmas, and everybody have a happy, healthy, safe time, and we'll see you next year.
Everybody good? I just have one.
Ms. McFarland.
Wait, before you do what you're going to do, I would like really briefly to wish Mr. McGregor a happy birthday on the 18th.
Wait a minute. What's happening here, Dr. Washer? You're supposed to put it in your calendar.
She did. Not everybody goes over this with a fine-tooth comb.
Anybody else feel like singing? I know I do.
I do, yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
I just want to wish my colleagues on the board a happy holiday season. All the cabinet, all the students, all the teachers, all classified employees that work in this district, you are making the district the best in San Joaquin County and maybe the state.
Wow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Navi. You are quite alert for 10:07. I appreciate that.
It's counterproductive after 10, but I'm pretty good.
Dr. Washer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, with that, we are concluded. People, we will see you back in the new year.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Good God. Oh. I don't like that 10:07.
Coming up, we're already past.
Are you talking to me?